Hello? Hello? Anybody there? Sorry about that. Pizowell here. Again, wishing everyone a very safe and warm and happy holiday season. A couple of weeks ago, I got a request to do a video about my favorite holiday horror films. And if you're a horror fan, as I am, we're going to share the same holiday horror film favorites. Black Christmas, Night Deadly Night, Christmas Evil, Jack Frost, stuff like that. So there's not really, I didn't really feel a need to sort of go into that and make that list and do that video. Instead, what I wanted to do is just focus on one film, the quintessential holiday horror film, the one that really sort of started the whole holiday-themed horror movie thing, and that's Bob Clark's classic 1974 Black Christmas, which unfortunately still does not seem to get the kudos that it deserves. Hardcore horror fans like myself, of course, herald it as a classic. I think a lot of casual horror fans and a lot of other people just, it's not the kind of movie that leaps to the forefront when you're talking about the classics, Texas Chainsaw, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, stuff like that. But it deserves all the respect that it's gotten, that it's accrued over the years, and much, much more. This isn't going to be a review of the film. It's going to be more or less like a commentary, just to, focus on a few things that really stand out about the film that I think were cutting edge at the time, or still are, or still very influential to this day. The first thing, of course, when you're talking about this film, you cannot talk about Black Christmas without talking about, the subjective, camera, the POV. And while Black Christmas didn't really start that, I mean, you've sort of got to go back to movies like Peeping Tom to get that, where that sort of originated from. It did in a very stylized way. So stylistically, Black Christmas was very cutting edge. The fact that the characters, these were primarily female characters, and they weren't just sort of cannon fodder. Some of them, sure, but some of them, a lot of the female characters had some serious depth. I mean, you're talking about issues like, abortion and, the Barb, played by, what's her name? Margot Kidder, I'm sorry. Her alcoholism and, there's the funny, the comic relief from the house mother who's an alcoholic, and, there's a lot going on with those characters and their relationships with their boyfriends and things like that, which you don't get a lot of that today, then or even now with slasher movie characters. The fact that the killer in the film is sort of not seen but heard really sort of goes against the grain. I mean, when you're talking about slasher movies, the killer's very much seen and not heard, with the exception of Freddy Krueger, who was both seen and heard. And of course, later in that series, he was seen and heard far too much and became a complete parody of himself. The fact that the killer is not caught at the end is great. I mean, the scary phone calls, just everything about the film seems sort of ahead of its time. Of course, it kicked off the whole, holiday-themed horror movie. Movies like Halloween, Friday the 13th, My Bloody Valentine, New Year's Evil, April Fool's Day, carried that torch The movie was remade several years ago. Hated the remake when I first saw it in the theaters. I've warmed up to it over the years. It's not bad. It is what it is. It's kind of a fun, silly slasher movie. It's not to be taken seriously, which really goes against the grain from the original Black Christmas, which was very serious and very bleak and very dark. And of course, you don't know who the killer is at the end of the film. With the remake, they said, well, we're going to throw you 2 killers and an extensive backstory. Okay. A lot's been said about Black Christmas, and a lot should be said about it. Of course, a lot of the credit to that film and its effectiveness has to go to Bob Clark, who was a great director, but never really seemed to get the props that he deserved. I mean, you look at his career, he's done horror films, he's done dramas, he's done comedies. He did a little bit of everything. And I mean, just think about, the guy did Black Christmas and he did A Christmas Story. 2 great classic Christmas films on the complete opposite spectrum of, the film genre chart. And both of them are great films. So that alone, I think, is a testament to what a great director he was. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. But his work lives on, and Black Christmas is a phenomenal, I think, film. It's a movie I watch around the Christmas season every year. I can't help but, pop it in. And just, there's something about it that makes it stand out, above the usual slasher movie. Even movies like Halloween, which, I mean, there's no doubt that Halloween was heavily influenced by Black Christmas. And Halloween is an absolute classic. It's probably, I've called it a perfect slasher movie, and it is. But there's something about Black Christmas that just sort of makes it stand out above even Halloween in my book. And it's hard to kind of put my finger on what exactly that is. Be it the characters, the bleakness, the killer. I don't know. It's just, there's something about that film that I think is very powerful, and it still works. It still works, despite the fact that it was made all the way back in 1974. Sure, the clothes are dated, but what works about that film is timeless. And unfortunately, it's something that horror movies today lack in a big way. So this Christmas, check out Black Christmas again. If you haven't seen Black Christmas, or if you've only seen the remake, shame on you. Go out, rent it, buy it, steal it, whatever. Black Christmas 1974, Bob Clark film. Fantastic holiday horror movie. The king, in my opinion. So go check it out. And until next time, hello?
It's me, Bill.